Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
So hello, KZOOMers.
Hey, everybody.
This is really the highlight of our week. we look forward to it, and I kind of do all my studying and preparing and opening to what needs to happen. And then as I'm beginning, it's like this joy to see each of these faces show up, all these faces of the people that I love show up in front of me here. So it's very wonderful. So this we're almost towards the end of the Song of Songs. We're in chapter 8, and there is these interesting repetitions that happen in this part of the song. It sort of like harkens back, and this part of the songs, remembers. It said, "Oh, his left hand is beneath my head, and his right arm is embracing me." And so there's a kind of again, leaning back into the divine embrace. And then there's a kind of this, what feels like a caution, but might actually be a kind of a acknowledgement of what we already have learned. So there's this line that we're going to be exploring that happens 3 times in the Song of Songs, and I call it timing. And it's and the first 2 times there's a little bit of trepidation about it. The words are slightly different, and they the lover turns to her beloveds, the daughters of Jerusalem, her companions on the path, her KZOOMers, and she says, do not awaken love until it's the right time, until that love is ripe, until there's a sense that this is, like we are on the path of love. What is necessary is the cultivation of wisdom, because love is such a powerful force that without wisdom, that love could easily fizzle or not hit its mark or dissipate in some way. And so the oh, hi, Alan. Haven't seen you in a while. Hi. So such an this So when I was looking at this line and chanting it, I thought where it's pointing me to is this idea of wisdom, and not any kind of wisdom, but the wisdom of the heart, and that is really where the path of love leads us. So I wanted to just to be inspired by this teaching from Hazrat Inayat Khan, where he kind of points to where wisdom resides. He says, and he makes the distinction between intellect and wisdom. He says intellect is the knowledge obtained by experience of names and forms. Wisdom is the knowledge which manifests only from the inner being. Only from the inner being. To acquire intellect, one must delve into the studies, but to obtain wisdom, nothing but the flow of divine mercy is needed. It is not as natural as the instinct of swimming to the fish or flying to the bird. Intellect is the sight which enables one to see through the external world, but the light of wisdom enables one to see through the external world into the internal. So wisdom allows us to be able to look inside, whereas the intellect is like sort of focused out there. And this idea of that it is a manifestation of the inner being. So as we chant these words, what I wanted to do was just to have it be a kind of a prayer for our own wisdom, and I think that the important thing is taking like all of that energy up from our heads and bringing it into our hearts. I was doing this past week. I was doing a spiritual direction session with someone, and she got on, and she was very confused about what to do, and she was writing lists and pros and cons in her head, and there was, it was like, and I just and she was like all over the place. I just said, hey, let's just sit for a minute, and I told her that there's this little channel from the crown into the heart, which kind of traces the spirit of guidance. And the heart becomes like a bowl. I said, feel that sense at the top of your head opening up. Breathe in from the crown and let that breath come into the bowl of the heart. And she did that. And she opened her eyes and she said, I know exactly what to do. It was just like that. So I thought, oh, that's the wisdom of the heart. And so as we chant, I wanted this to be an invocation of the wisdom of the heart that knows how to see from the place of the inner being. Am I in the right key? Yes. Close your eyes. Feel that opening at the top of your head, of the crown. And feel the bowl of your heart. And just imagine breathing in through the crown into the bowl of your heart. And sometimes what I like to do is to breathe in through the crown, and on the exhale then just radiate that breath out in all directions from the heart. And again from the crown, breathing down through the crown into the heart, breathing in the spirit of guidance, and breathing out, radiating like a sun shining. So I was thinking about what does that mean to acquire a wise heart? You know, how do I find that wisdom of the heart? And I was kind of going back to Torah and saying, oh yeah, the wisdom of the heart is talked about in the Torah, and the places I remembered were in the book of Exodus. And I actually, started sort of to look for that, and I found 10 occurrences of that phrase. Some of them in Exodus, and some of them in Proverbs. But all of the ways that the wise heart is described as, what its use is in the creative and the artistic process. I found this teaching from Rabbi Dr. Avi Cooperberg. I don't know who he is. I never met him. But he said, perhaps the greatest form of wisdom is creativity. When one experiences the world around them and reformats it imaginatively in a unique artistic expression, it provides the creative medium through which the divine presence can be experienced. Hence, creativity is dependent on the wisdom of the heart. So in the book of Exodus, when it is time to create that mishkan, that place of that is going to be, and all the accoutrements and the vestments that happen inside the mishkan, the sanctuary. God says to Moses, no, you're not going to do this. And to Aaron, no, you're not going to do this. And he looks to the artists, and he says, you who have the wisdom of the heart, you can create the mishkan, the dwelling place for the divine presence. And I see our spiritual practice as creating that dwelling place in our hearts, in our bodies, between us, in our circle, and ultimately in the world. We are making a place for God to dwell. And in order to do that, we have to find this, this inspiration of creativity and a sense of beauty. And so all of the wise-hearted are called in to this project of building the Mishkan, and it is it's like this necessary part of our spiritual practice, this cultivating the wise heart, which is the heart of our creative process. Just recently, I heard this interview with Julia Cameron, who wrote. I mean, she's written like 40 books, but she wrote the Artist's Way, and she just wrote a book about wisdom, and so it was kind of synchronistic. Here I'm teaching about wisdom, and Julia Cameron just wrote a book about wisdom, and she really equates the creative process with the cultivation of wisdom, and that but it is a practice really. And so it's a practice of making ourselves available to the divine spirit to flow through. Not only available, but working with the instrument that we are so that it comes through us in a way that's going to bring beauty into the world. So there is this practice that I want to do from 1 Kings. And it's really talking about Solomon, which is the part of us that is the perfected being. So we want to call in and we say, behold, God says, I give you a wise and understanding heart. And these two qualities of wisdom and understanding are often paired. And in the tree of life, they're kind of like right across from each other. But sometimes I think of it as the wisdom is that kind of like spark of creativity, and the understanding is like the making, the forming it, the applying it, applying that wisdom. So those two qualities go together. So in our own practice of cultivating this wisdom, I want to just tune into like that. It's not us doing it, Hinay. Oh, Hinay, behold, there is this flow of wisdom, and when we come to the book of Proverbs, we find out that wisdom was there before anybody was there. Wisdom preceded us, and then we attune to it and call it through. So it's not like I'm thinking it up, really. I'm attuning myself to that flow of wisdom that is flowing. So let's that if anybody who's shruting, it's an F, and a C on this one. So I think that the practice is just with each repetition of the chant, opening up a little bit more to that flow that is flowing.
Hinay natati lach lev chacham v'navo. Hinay natati lach lev chacham v'navo. Natati lach lev chacham v'navo. Hinay natati lach lev chacham v'navo. Natati lach lev chacham v'navo. Hinay 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 natati lach chacham ונבוא
So I invite you to just to breathe into that wise and understanding heart. Just sense it is a heart that is expanding. So in the book of Proverbs, Mishlei, there is this amazing chapter 8. And many years ago, I was on a train, and I sat next to a woman who was a nun, and I'm always fascinated with nuns because I wanted to be a nun too.
After you saw one of those movies?
Yeah, after I saw one of those movies.
Song of Bernadette.
Yeah. But I started talking to her, and she said she belonged to an order that derived all its whole being from chapter 8 of Proverbs. And she called it the Order of Sophia. She was called it. And they lived their life in kind of worship of wisdom, of exploration of wisdom, and of listening to, attuning to wisdom. So it was. I went home and I looked at Proverbs chapter 8, and I just thought, this is amazing text, and I translated it, and we're going to be chanting the first line from it. But I had the feeling of wanting to share the whole chapter with you, if that's okay, because it's just, I think, kind of amazing. And this is my translation of it, because wisdom just comes alive. And when I chant these words from Proverbs, what I want to do is kind of aspect or like channel that spirit of wisdom, that kind of what seems like kind of a goddess energy, and so here's our inspiration. Okay, it begins with this kind of question, exclamation. Isn't it wisdom calling and understanding raising her voice? She takes her stand at topmost heights, on the way, at the crossroads, near the gates, at the city's entrance, in the doorways. She cries out, "Oh, people, I call to you. My cry is addressed to all humanity. Oh, simple ones, learn common sense, and you fools must acquire an understanding heart. Listen, for I speak noble truths, and from my lips comes uprightness. For my mouth utters truth. Wickedness is impossible from my lips. Every word that comes from my mouth is righteous. There's nothing crooked or perverse in them. They are all obvious to the understanding one, and straightforward to the one who has attained knowledge. Receive my teaching rather than silver, for wisdom is better than knowledge rather than choice gold, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all that you desire cannot measure up to her worth. I, wisdom, live with prudence. I attain knowledge and purpose. To be in awe of God is to hate evil. I stand against pride, arrogance, and the evil way, and duplicity in speech. Wise counsel and abiding success are mine. I am understanding, and I have power. Through me, kings reign and rulers decree just laws. Through me, princes, nobles, judges over the earth rule. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently shall find me. Riches and honor belong to me, enduring wealth and justice My fruit is better than gold, better than fine gold, and my produce is better than fine silver. I walk on the way of righteousness, on the paths of justice. I bequeath those who love me existence itself. I will fill them with treasures. God established me at the beginning of his way, the first of all his works of old. I was set up through eternity, before the beginning of the earth. There was no deep when I was brought forth, no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains settled, before the hills, I was already born. He had not yet made the earth or the fields or the high places or dry ground. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he fixed the horizon around the deep, when he encouraged his clouds above, when the fountains of the deep became strong, when he assigned the sea its limits, so that the waters never transgress his command, when he established the foundations of the earth, I was his closest artistic advisor. I was his daily delight, rejoicing before him in every moment, rejoicing in his inhabited world, delighting in humanity. So now, children, listen to me. Happy are those who keep my ways. Listen, become wise, and do not neglect this teaching. Happy is the one who listens to me, watching each day at my doorways, guarding the signs at my gates. For whoever finds me finds life and calls forth the goodwill of God. But the one who sins against me destroys their own soul. All who hate me love death.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow.
That is like intense. So, and there's such a power and a fierceness to her voice. And so I wanted to read that too, so that when we chant it, we are finding that voice, and calling to ourselves and calling to the world to say, listen, attune yourself to this wisdom, to this flow of wisdom, because you if you don't do it, it is at your peril. This is like, that's the fierceness of it. You ready to become wisdom? Hello, Chochma, tikra, utvuna, titayn kola. 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 Hello, Chochma, titayn kola. Hello, Chochma, tikra, utvuna, 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 titayn kola. You can close your eyes, feel that opening of the crown. Allow that spirit of guidance, that flow of wisdom to pour into the heart and then shine it out. So we are all the messengers, the channels of that wisdom. And she says, listen to me, listen to me. there's a kind of an urgency of like, oh, listen to me. So when I studied with my Sufi teacher, Paul Ray, they were Shams, and he spent, really the first at least 6 months of my training was really just opening to the spirit of guidance. That alone, and it's it's sort of the prerequisite for everything else that follows. Because once that flow is there, we can learn lots of different things from lots of different people. But when our own spirit of guidance is flowing, then we'll never become the victim of somebody else's, misunderstanding. Because we'll always be able to tune in. So at this time of Elul, it's really that kind of this realigning to that spirit of guidance, because we get distracted, we get sort of pulled away from our own truth, and then we suffer. And so at this time of Elul, we kind of do an accounting of it. So I wanted to do this last practice as our Elul practice that is using the wisdom of the heart to discern, to look at our lives and to say, what is it that gives us energy, and what is it that drains us of energy? What is it? And the sur meirah is like, turn from that which is draining me, is shutting me down, is making me small, is constricting me. Turn away from it. And then find yourself in the mode of like turning towards this goodness, this possibility of wholeness, of peace. And today I was we're getting ready to leave on a vacation tomorrow, and so we were like going around, like in a way, like just checking off all the lists inside my head, and I was really like, my whole being's kind of turned down, like into the computer, into my stuff, into the and then I got this like message from my spirit of guidance that said, look up. Look up. And then I started to look at the sky, and it was like, oh,
it's pretty gorgeous.
Oh, the sky, and it became a kind of like a medicine for me. It's like, and then I relaxed, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, we'll figure this out, but it's like, that was just like a moment of turning away from that which was like this ra for me, this evil for me of like obsessiveness, really, and then opening to, this wholeness, this that was always there. It was always available. The sky was there, but I was, and so that's kind of what I mean. And so what I wanted to do was to do this practice, and then those who would like to stay for a few minutes afterwards to share, see how you might apply this to your own life, to be able to say, discern, like, oh, what is it that in my life I need to turn from, and what am I, and what is the goodness that I want to turn towards to begin to do. And sometimes when you have a witness, it makes it even more real. So let's try this. And sometimes I like to actually do a little of a movement with it. So I say, Surmeira, 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 va-asai Surmeira, Surmeira. Feel that turning motion.
Surmeira, va-asai.
And then when we're kind of searching, we're really opening up to that wide sky here. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu.
Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu.
So when I go open up to that wide open sky, and then I want to open up to the wide open sky inside me. So those are the two. So it's Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu.
Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu. Bakeysh, shalom, v-rad-fayhu.
Once more.
Surmeira, 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 va-asai. Surmeira, 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 va-asai Bakeysh shalom, v-rad-fayhu, Bakeysh shalom, v-rad-fayhu, Bakeysh shalom, v-rad-fayhu, Bakeysh shalom, v-rad-fayhu. So this spirit of wisdom, this wise heart is always waiting for us. And I think that it takes us kind of like to kind of get out of our heads and sort of drop down into the heart to be able to access that wisdom that is there, that is flowing, and it's dynamic. It's always changing. It's not like you get it and you always have it. It's just like a process, I guess. So how wonderful to practice with you. Yeah.
This and I invite you to come to the website and give a little donation, and also see if maybe you want to come to the Soul Lift retreat, Love at the Center retreat that's going to be happening in Tampa this winter. I'm going to turn this